Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. First, let me welcome you to my session, to my presentation. And the topic is online visibility, control in the whole network, and the connection of the visibility in the network to the security in general. So, first of all, as even the battling the unknowns, the topic for the ITBN conference is saying, is that it's much easier to battle if you know your enemy, if you have the visibility. Okay, so if you have the visibility into the network, it's much easier to work with that. So, yep, perfect. So first of all, I would like to explain our approach to the network management. And if you understand the network management approach which we have, then we will talk about this visibility and the security context of that. So first of all, how the network management helps to get the visibility. So at the very bottom of this slide, you have some networking equipment. So the networking equipment can be from vendor A to vendor B or C, I don't care. Then above the network equipment, you have the management. So the management is talking to the networking equipment with some API, some proprietary protocols or some open protocols. So what is the important thing is that this management does have the full visibility of each and every entity in the network itself under your command. So then, above this management, we have some applications. And those applications can be security, like firewalls, like MDM, mobile device management. But it can be also some real-time communication applications, like Microsoft Lync, Sky for Business, and those things. So between those different, let's say, architectural objects, there are some communication mechanisms. I already mentioned this one. There is also this one, which should be open, should be customizable, should be well documented, and should be exposed to the community. Because then we can have the full feature and full benefit of good network management and the visibility with the security aspects. So if you look at our network management, our network management is gathering something like 40 to 50 attributes about each and every end system which is in the network. So this is a screenshot from our management. So you can, for example, see on what access point the end system is connected. You can also see what applications are this device using or sending. You can see what is the device from the operating system point of view. You can see the MAC address, IP address, and what is the device itself. You can see the location of that device. You can see the health status of that device. Okay? You can see the activity, when it was first seen in the network, last seen in the network. You can see the access and identity of that device. And just have in mind that the network management does have those attributes, that information about each and every device in your network. I don't care if it is wireless or wired. I don't care if it is VPN or local connected. I don't care if it is physical or virtual. So also the virtual machines in your data center can have this information in the management. So, if you look at the screenshot from our management, so that's just a small network. You can see that the screenshot was done yesterday. So, these devices were connected. These were not connected in the network. For each and every end system in the network, you can see information like last seen. You can see the information like IP address. You can see information like MAC address. You can see information like device type, device family. You can see the user who is behind that device. So if it is a guest, so what is the guest name? If it is an internal person, what is the person who owns or who operates that computer? Okay? You can see the location of each and every device. So you can see the switch, you can see the nickname of the switch, you can see the location, you can see the port if it is wired. If it is wireless, then you can see, for example, access point, SSID, and BSSID, so the radio. So the location is also in the network management. If I scroll a little bit to the right of that management, there are more information. There is information about the risk. So is the information, is the entity high risk or no risk or low risk or medium risk? You can see the information about the profile which is applied to the network equipment. I mean the profile of that end system. So is it the guest device, or is it the IP printer, or is it the IP camera, or is it a computer? Is it a salesperson or marketing person or web camera? Or doors which are connected to the network? I don't care. I do have that profile applied. And this profile is applied to the network equipment. So if the network equipment, like a switch or like wireless, do support VLANs, okay, that's the VLAN behind the profile. If the equipment does support access control lists, cool, then we have access control lists behind that. If it is wireless, we can have topology, like bridged access point or bridged controller. We can have quality of service, layer 2 to layer 4, or layer 7, if the wireless does support it. Okay? Mirroring. Those things which are configured by the network management to the network equipment. So that's a profile. Then we have some reason, like who approved that, why this device is in the network, and you can work with that. You can work with that. It's a control of the network. Regarding the security, you have the risk here, and you have also some scoring. So if we get the information, or if we do the assessment of the end system, we do have this information about, hey, this device is rooted or jailbroken, or this device is compromised, or this device is healthy based on the assessment which was done by our tool or the third-party tool. Okay? Then we have a first scene and last scan information. So just have in mind, because now I will build based on this. Okay? So again, we have a network management which does have a knowledge about what is in the network. And now let's talk about the security aspects, how we can handle this information to help battling the unknown. So, as Extreme Networks, as a vendor on the market for many ages, okay, we do have over 20 partners with integrations. So we, as Extreme Networks, do not produce firewalls. There are much better firewalls. They are best firewalls on the market. Cool. We do not produce load balancers. We do not produce system centers. Okay? But there are 40+ partners which are interoperable. We are interoperable from many really aspects, like with mobility, like management, compliance, and security, analytics, data center. Okay? So, let's look at the first integration where we combine the best of breed, the best firewall you can imagine. For example, I have two here, with our management. And what is the benefit? Combining them together. Okay? So if you have next generation firewall, for example, Palo Alto and Fortinet, we have that integrations available. What is the benefit? What is something which we call distributed IPS solution? What is something like location-based URL filtering, and why it care? Why we care? Why it is helpful? Why we help and how we help with single sign-on, and how we help with no hijacking. So let's start with the first one, Palo Alto. On the slide here, so Palo Alto is a firewall. In general, the firewall is a piece of device, software, whatever, which does do the firewalling and much more. I don't care. What is important for me? Usually you have a network, you have some routers, like access, some routers, and then you have firewall. Usually your computers are not connected to the firewall directly, right? You have switches. Cool. So the firewall, in general, does have very bad options how to get the information about the username. you are not logging to the firewall, usually. If you do that, it's not user-friendly. So usually the firewall does have some modules to the Active Directory, but the question is your guest in Active Directory? Probably not, right? How you can get your CIO or CFO, Apple, MacBook Pro, whatever, to the Active Directory? You can't. It's not Windows, right? So usually you have lack of options here that firewall do not have an option to do rules based on username. In some occasions you can, but not every time. And one of those integrations is we know what is the user. We are the network management, and we tell to the firewall, hey, this is user Zdenek Pala. Cool. This is Marilyn Monroe. Okay? And then the firewall can do rules not based on IP addresses or IP subnets. It can do the rule based on the user. Another option is distributed IPS. So if this, for example, Palo Alto will tell me, hey, there is an infection on that end system. Firewall, that's this job, right? To detect malware, to detect everything. So if the firewall detects that, it tells to the network management, and network management can do something like distributed IPS. So, for example, disconnect the user. Don't just block it on the perimeter, but really disconnect it. Or change the VLAN, change the quality of service, change the access control list. Okay? Redirect the user to a specific website. Hey, cool, you are in quarantine. Welcome. Okay? So that's integration with Palo Alto. Integration with the second firewall, which is on the slide, is the Fortinet. So Fortinet is even better from the integration point of view for us, because it's not only user ID and IP mapping, but also the network profile. So imagine now that we can take a location in the consideration. So we can tell, hey, Mr. Firewall, this user is on the second floor. And now this user moved to the third floor on the same SSID, on the same VLAN, with the same IP address. I can have location-based access control lists. Okay? Again, distributed IPS, the same stuff which I already mentioned. Next one. Next, no hijacking, no session hijacking. So if you disconnect from the network, or if you just turn off your Wi-Fi, we know that. Because if you disconnect from the network, the port goes down, right? And network management know that. If you disconnect from the Wi-Fi, the NIC card sends disassociate beacon to the access point. So we know that the end system is not longer connected. We can tell, hey, firewall, the session is closed. And the firewall can close all sessions. So no hijacking. No one can use that session which was authenticated and downloading some file. Cool. Just, you have a firewall, you have the network management, just make it connected together. IBOS integration, location-based web filtering. So the same stuff. I have the location information, and I send it to the URL filtering tool. Hey, this user is now in that room, and now it's not. I don't need to change the VLAN. I don't need to bother the user to log in again and say, hey, I'm in this room or I'm in that room now. I just let the information to propagate. Lightspeed, another vendor for the web filtering. Here is another option which we do, single sign-on. So the user logs into our tool, and we tell to URL filtering, hey, this is a user. You don't need to log in again. Why not? Another topic for that integrations. And again, there's just a network management which you have. If it is good network management with open API, then you can integrate with something else. So something else in this case will be mobile device management. Again, security tool. Mobile device management do a lot of things. And we can help with, for example, easy onboarding, one help desk tool to get the compliance reports, and compliance check and security posture across the whole network. So let's look at that. So for example, we have AirWatch, Mobile Iron, JMAF, and now a brand new fancy phone, for example. Those solutions can wipe your phone, can handle your user data, private and personal, disconnected or separated. And we have a network management, network control. So for example, if the user connects with corporate credentials to the Wi-Fi bring your own device, from the iPhone, iPad, Android, whatever, we can force him to go to the web page to download that. It is a corporate network, it's not a guest network, and it is a device which does support that. We know that. We know that's Android or what is it. So then we can force him to onboard, to get it done. So the user does not need to go to the IT department, hey, here is my phone, please, and in 3 days it will be cool if you return it back compliant to the network. So onboarding can be easy for users. Automated policy-based. So once the end system is onboarded, once the end system does have the agent, we know that together and we can apply different profile on the network. So for example, quite nice, I hope you will find it nice. So is the CIO own iPad compliant or not? So the network management asked MDM, and MDM said, it's not encrypted. So then, of course, we can, as a network management, consider guest access or no access at all. We can do that. We can do the decision based on the information from other solutions, other sources. So, for example, we can then take the information if the device is corporate-owned or employee-owned. Okay? We can also take the benefit of visibility only. So we can take information about the phone number, email, compliance status, and those things, and we can provide that to the help desk. Hey, by the way, this is the phone number of that device. So if the help desk people wants to be proactive, they can say, hey, there is a quarantine device. Cool, let's call that guy. Do you know why your phone is not working? Because you don't have something. Firewall enabled on that device, or you do not have last patches, auto-update, or whatever. Another aspect, data center. So with the data center in general, that's a completely different story. In the past, you had a server, and on the server was one application. Okay? Today, you have a server, and on that server, you can have 10, 100 virtual machines. So that server is connected by one NIC card. Or if you want to have a high availability, you can have 2 NIC cards. Today, that's different. You have a server which does have 8 NIC cards, 8 10 gig NIC cards, no problem at all. You just connect it to the network. And then the question goes, which virtual machine is where? Okay? So that's, again, something which can help you. Network orchestration. So who is configuring the virtual switches? Visibility, easy troubleshooting, and we do not care if your virtualization platform is Microsoft, VMware, Citrix, just name it. We don't care as long as that hypervisor does have API and we can talk to that. So, for example, we can assign connectivity profile to the virtual machine. So just imagine that the server person will do like this, create a new SharePoint server. Okay? And the server guy will connect it to DMZ. Oops, a mistake. Can happen. Our network management will find it and will say, hey, SharePoint server to the DMZ, that's not good. Need approval. Okay? Or opposite. I don't care about approval. I will just put it to the location, to the VLAN which it should be. Okay? If you have a SharePoint server and the server guy is not clever enough, let's have it this way, to not say that's idiot. Okay? So thank you. So if that happens and on the SharePoint server you have the DHCP server running, that's a SharePoint server. We know that because virtualization platform said this is a SharePoint server. So SharePoint server means no DHCP offers. Okay? But if it is Active Directory, which runs DHCP, cool. DHCP offer is welcome, and that's valid traffic pattern. So different profiles based on information from the hypervisor. Network configuration moves as the virtual machine moves. So if you have failure, so virtual machines are moving from one server to another, from one NIC card to another, all the configuration, of course, is automatically following. So you don't need to reconfigure your network. Or, on opposite, what is happening today as a main and most often is that you just leave the network unprotected. Because what if someone moves that server? So we have all the DMZ, all that server farms in one VLAN with one security profile accepted or applied, which means no security at all. So we can do that. Full visibility in virtualization platform. So we can tell, because the API on the other side, for example, on the VMware side, does have an option to update, for example, notations of virtual machines. So we can then tell, hey, this virtual machine is now seen on this physical switch on this physical port. So if you want to start to troubleshoot, I don't care if you are a server guy, application guy, or networking guy, you know where to start. If the port is overloaded or not. What is the VLAN, what is the quality of setting, what is the quality of service setting on that port. Approval workflow I already mentioned, configuration of networking, and virtualization platform. Just think about another aspect of that. Virtual desktop infrastructure. So now in this case, you have even worse situation because you have the entity, the user present twice in the network. You have the user on the edge of the network, and you have the user on the virtual desktop in the data center. Okay? Who is checking what the user can connect to and what the user can send to the data to the network? You can have it with our management, and again, just because of integration of virtual desktop infrastructure and network management, you can have full visibility and you can have full control here. Just return to the basics, to the basic thing which I said. The network management does have API. You can build in your integration with your own systems based on that API. So for example, Samsung Research and Development Center in Warsaw. The network, 15,000 end systems running on Cisco. Not our network, unfortunately. The world is not perfect, but okay, let's have it this way, okay? So 15,000 end system running on Cisco, our management on the top of that, and now the cool stuff comes. If you come to the Samsung Research and Development Center, you come to the building, they take a picture of you, and they create a badge. Not just a paper with a QR code, but a real badge, okay? And then if you enter the building, if you enter the room, there is a control on the door. So you need to put the badge on, and then doors are unlocked or locked back. Okay? So this is what they have already and what they did. So what we came with is, okay, so you already have the information about the user. The user has a badge with the name and ID. So while you create the badge, just immediately create the guest account for that user. If the guest comes to the building, he can go to the Wi-Fi and put his name and ID as a password. And if the user leaves the building, returns the badge, the account is disabled. Cool, easy, security, hey. You don't need to take care about your wireless is not going outside of the building because the guest will be outside of the building, whatever. You don't need to do that. We have another customer in Czech which does have a rule, security policy applied, that if the user is in the building, then he can access the internal resources. If the user is outside of the building, he cannot access the internal resources. So the idea is quite simple. You know, I'm not sure about Hungary here, but in Czech we are not allowed to smoke in the building. Unfortunately, a lot of people still smoking. So what they do, they go with their tablets, smartphones, whatever, and they go smoke outside. And now, what you can do? You can do not allow the wireless outside of the building, which is a little bit tricky because, you know, reflections and those things. What you can do more, you can allow the wireless outside of the building, and then you should have some option to check if the user is outside or inside to apply different profile. We can do that. So if the user is outside, based on triangulation, the network does know where the user is. So based on the triangulation, we can apply different profile with the same VLAN, with the same or different access control lists, with the same or different quality of service. Just imagine that the user is watching YouTube and going out, okay? And YouTube will still work because we are not changing VLANs. I'm not changing anything. I just block the traffic to the internal CRM. If the user is outside. Okay? So on-demand integrations. Just think about that, whatever you like. I still have 2 minutes and 54 seconds. So just a summary. We are here with RelNet. Oops. With RelNet. We are on the stand there. If you like it, if you have questions, feel free to visit our stand. I will be happy to talk to you, to explain whatever. Yep. Thank you for your time.